What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, I don't know if today's headline should be considered some sort of bombshell revelation or something we should have seen coming, as the dominoes always start to fall when someone is the first. No one wants to be the last, and it was just under a month ago we talked about Marvel Studios with some of their on-set VFX workers voting to unionize. Now, that vote actually just started on August 21st. It's underway now, and in light of that, another domino has fallen, breaking from Variety, and within the last hour, Walt Disney Pictures VFX workers moved to unionize. We're going to talk about what they say in this article and why this is really going to change the way things are done over at Disney, especially over at Marvel, and why this really puts Disney in complete all-out panic mode, is what little wheels were still turning for them over and on the studio side are going to be put to a stop, and all at once. Again, we're breaking down the latest news that Walt Disney Pictures VFX workers have voted to unionize. But first, if you could hit the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel, everything from official Easter egg breakdowns, trailers, and reviews, to the occasional industry insider report or Disney adjacent news like we're covering today, and everything in between. So if that sort of thing's for you, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. That will automatically enter you to win our ongoing PS5 giveaway. The next one is right around the corner. Again, all you got to do, be a subscriber, leave a comment on this video if you want, stick around at the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. So again, this broke from Variety within the hour, so you can trust it. This is what they're reporting. Visual effects crews over at Walt Disney Studios have taken a significant step to unionize after filing with the National Labor Relations Board for an election to unionize. The supermajority, over 80%, of the 18 in-house VFX crew members at Walt Disney Pictures signed authorization cards signaling their desire to unionize. The historical move is only the second time in history that VFX professionals have joined together to demand the same protections and rights as their colleagues. Earlier this month, VFX crews at Marvel Studios voted to unionize, and just for some context, guys, here to show you how quickly the winds of change happen, they didn't start that vote until August 21st. It'll actually run for quite some time, a couple of weeks, so that they can get all of the ballots, which are due on September 11th. They'll then have a vote that takes place the day after on September 12th. But Marvel Studios just started their vote, and here we are within the same week. We're talking about days later, this move coming at Walt Disney. This is going to set a precedent for the rest of the industry, and that's what I alluded to during the prologue of this video. For someone like Walt Disney, they're going to be at the very spearhead of this, right? And maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so let me go ahead and explain what's a pretty clear picture for a lot of us in the industry looking from the outside in, and what they're not saying in these reporting articles. Number one, they're not moving to unionize unless it's going to happen. So if you're wondering during this voting process right now if there's any chance it wouldn't happen, it's 100% going to happen. They wouldn't do it unless it was. That's number one. Number two, they don't plan to unionize unless they're going to use that unionization to change what's currently going on. And if you've been paying attention to the gripes of the VFX artists over the last year, it's been absolutely terrible. In fact, so much so, it led to the firing of the VFX vice president, Victoria Alonso, because she had said to have made this terrible. The overtime hours, the unreasonable demands, and the number of rewrites and reshoots that they asked them to do. And keep in mind, guys, just for clarification, these VFX houses go ahead and bid on these projects for a dollar amount, not for the amount of time they're putting into them. So sometimes, given the demands Marvel Studios can come to the table with, they're losing a ton of money with the overtime hours they have to put in. That being said, when you organize into a union, you're looking to change the status quo. You're looking to change your situation. That's why they're doing this, and why Marvel might be in panic mode is they're going to be at the spearhead of this. It's happening in their studio and first. So you see right now the studios not coming to the table, not being willing to negotiate with the actors and writers in good faith. But they have projects in the works, right? Marvel Studios right now is probably finishing up the effects for Loki Season 2, definitely finishing up the effects for the Marvels that comes out in November, working on the VFX for the scenes that were already shot for Deadpool and Wolverine for future promo next year, hopefully when things get back to normal, and working on VFX for their next film in Captain America Brave New World. If these two divisions, Marvel Studios and the Walt Disney VFX artists, should happen to unionize and in time, and if the strikes are still going on for the actors and writers, this would be the perfect time for them to strike. It would give everybody the most leverage for them to be striking in unison, right? The studios can't sit out from the negotiations with the writers and actors and finish the stuff they've got in the pipeline for the next year or so. And that's where the rub really starts for Disney and why they're going to be in super trouble, because then they will hit the, hey, we're losing money, we're doing zero at the studio first. They've got the biggest overhead. Their stock is down the most at 60% from its all-time high, and they're sitting on the side of the table with other studios that it won't affect in the same way. Some of these bigger studios are the the ones that are going to have to pony up the most, and they've got to come to agreement amongst themselves. Disney and Marvel, with their in-house VFX artists going on strike, will be the first again to start losing money in that way. The other studios won't feel the side effects of that until their houses start to do the same, or their in-house VFX workers start to do the same based on precedent, which you could ultimately see is this taking a very long time to resolve itself, meaning absolutely catastrophic quarter-on-quarter losses for Disney and Marvel Studios coming in the upcoming next year or so. Not only that, it gets even worse, because if they are to resolve this and be proactive in doing so, you have to imagine that they're going to have to pony up so much more money and go away from their style of having all these rewrites in at the last minute for these films. Now, I think that's going to be a great thing, because it's going to stop them from sort of doing the movie by committee and make them commit to knowing what they're doing beforehand. But hey, James Gunn pointed this out about some of recent Marvel movie follies, saying that it's on the director to know what they're doing, what they're putting to screen before they actually get to set. And when you've got movie by committee ruining good stories like Multiverse of Madness or say Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, because too many people are working on it and too many reshots have been done, they're not going to have the option to keep doing this here. That's what this unionization is going to be about, which means ultimately for some of these Marvel movies, which have been absolutely bloated and over budget, they're not going to be able to get as many VFX shots done the way that they've been doing them. And this is going to be for the best, because one of my only gripes outside of some of the core element problems with the writing for what Marvel has been doing is the fact that the VFX have absolutely been lacking, and for quite some time now. These are Marvel movies. We want to go there and suspend disbelief. Some of the VFX in She-Hulk were absolutely laughable. There were two different studios who worked on them, but all of her office shots were done by one VFX house, where some of the workers came out anonymously after the project was done, talked about what a nightmare it was working for Disney, and at that time under Victoria Alonso, that they were working ridiculous overtime hours, having to do shots a ridiculous number of times and right up until the last minute. So the VFX suffered ultimately because of the demands that were on them. They weren't being compensated this. Expect this all to change. Something like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, where the VFX weren't quite done. They actually had to track some shots. Some of the editing is off because they ran out of footage because of timing and budgetary constraints for what they were doing. All of this will have to change, and hopefully for the better. But again, Disney will be the first up to start losing money if ultimately when they vote to unionize, the votes go through, which they should, they become a union, they make a list of demands. If Disney isn't going to pony up and right away, and we expect they're going to ask for quite a lot, given what the studios have already done now with the actors and writers, you can't expect them to meet all the demands immediately. Just reading the tea leaves, we could be up for a VFX strike. And then it doesn't matter whether the actors and the writers have been resolved by then. If there's no VFX, you guys know there are no Marvel movies, and that's for sure. But you guys let me know all your thoughts down below, what you think Disney is thinking right now. Man, so much of their IP is huge VFX. Star Wars, the list goes on. And really, in TV and movies these days, guys, there are a lot of VFX of different kinds and all sorts of stuff, but not the way Star Wars and Marvel lean on them. Let me know all your thoughts, guys. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. All right, we are still giving away a PlayStation 5. We have actually got 3 of those before the end of the year. We're also going to do some comic book giveaways in the future. If you want to be entered to win, all the same rules will always apply. All you got to do, hit the subscribe button, then leave a comment down below. Because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. And as always, if you'd like to